based on things that my mother has shared with me, um, which include the facts as they were told to her by my grandmother, as well as her own conclusions based on her
Mhm.
lived experience with my grandmother.
Mhm.
Um, I think what I know to be the case is that my great grandmother played favorites, and my
Mm,
grandmother was not her favorite child.
mm, mm.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was treated very poorly as a young adult, even when she got up to Chicago and was coming up in that household.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't believe that treatment started when she got to Chicago, because
Gotcha.
otherwise, why would you leave your job?
Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to In the Telling, a Global Black Family Podcast. My name is Miranda Mims, and I am joined by my amazing and wonderful co-host Stephen G. Fullwood.
Hi,
And
everybody.
we are the founders of the Nomadic Archivist Project, which is a small archival initiative that works with people across the global Black world and
Mm,
anything to do with archives. So welcome to In the Telling.
lovely. Our guest today is Negarra Kudumu, an independent scholar, curator of contemporary art, and healer. Based in Seattle, her practice remains centered on the intersection of art and healing, with a specific focus on contemporary art from the African and South Asian diasporas. Kudumu's work is characterized by a multidisciplinary approach that blends intellectual inquiry with spiritual practice through a curatorial focus, healing arts, and education and writing. Nagara, how are you doing?
I am well, thank you so much. That's such a lovely bio. It's always interesting to see how folks edit my bio, especially if I forget to actually send it to you guys, which I think I did. My bad.
Hey, no
But
worries.
thank you so much. I'm so glad that we were finally able to settle a date and do this. I'm excited to talk with you guys.
Me too.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to getting in conversation with you today.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, thank you for being here. And thank you for agreeing to share your story.
Mhm.
So how we like to kick things off is just ground the conversation, as always, and a little bit about like who you are, where you came
Mm-hmm.
from, if you want to
Mhm.
talk about your family, just sort of open us up into like getting a little bit into, Nagara.
Okay.
Cute.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in Seattle now these past 12 years. I came to Seattle January 2014. Previous to that, I've been living in New York. I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised
Okay.
in Chicago, second generation Chicagoan on both sides of my
Mm,
family.
Okay.
Um, my mother's family is primarily from Georgia. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you go back far enough, you see a little Virginia, you see a little New Orleans. Um, but my mother's father is from Mississippi, and all
okay.
of my father's people are from Mississippi, and based on what I've learned, had been there for quite some time.
Okay.
And
What part of
so
Mississippi?
um Lexington and Clarksdale
Okay.
Okay.
on my
Okay.
father's side. My mother's father, we haven't located exactly where. We just know that he was from my mother's father was from Mississippi.
Okay.
Okay.
My mother's family, in terms of where they were from Georgia, they lived in a few places.
Okay.
Elberton County,
Okay.
um, Oglethorpe County,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandmother in particular was born in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, as I said, second generation born in Chicago. And that's something I'm actually really proud of. Like, Chicago is unique amongst American cities because I would say it's one of a handful of cities where you still, in certain ways, experience remnants of Southern life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of just, the way folks um the way folks had to build, where people
Mhm.
settled, how people speak, especially. I've been
Mhm.
told
Right.
on a number of occasions by Southerners, like folks who families never left the South. Oh, I thought you might have been from such and such, and
Mhm.
it's the Chicago accent. Chicagoans sound like where the black Chicagoans sound like where their people are from, which
Up
is
south.
primarily
Mhm.
Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and then
Yeah.
also some Memphis, which is always interesting for me because it's just like my mother's family being from Georgia. It's like, how did y'all are like Georgia down? How did you all end up in Chicago? Georgians typically you find ended up on the East Coast, but also we
Okay.
know that people go where they have family. And so it was
Mhm.
clear that there had already been some family on both sides of the maternal lineage. So the key branches there are Smith and Yancey. So there were Smiths and Yanceys who were already in Chicago. So it makes
Okay.
sense why the family made the decision to come there.
I
Do
can
you
see.
know
Mm.
who the first migrants were? Do you know how far
Yes.
back that was?
So
Okay.
that would have been my maternal great grandmother's generation. So
Okay.
her two sisters and some nieces and nephews, two of my great grandmother's three children.
Okay.
Okay. And do you know
Hmm.
what brought them to Chicago or brought them out of the South? I mean, I can guess, but
So the specific reason, no. The general, I
no.
think it's
Okay.
the general reason that for why so many black people left the South, better
Mhm.
opportunity. The
Right.
Right.
the the notion that there were better opportunities.
The
I
Right.
think
notion. Mhm.
with when you sort of look back unromantically, um,
Mhm.
we gained perhaps as much, we lost as much as we perhaps gained.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
I
Wow.
I I I knowing what it is that I know now and knowing just history generally, I talked to as an adult, I've met some black people whose families never left the South, or if their family moved to the North, it was very brief and then they went back down there.
Back.
And
Mhm.
these are people who would be my mother's generation, so baby boomers.
Okay.
Got it.
And
Okay.
Okay.
in some instances, not all, but in some instances, their families had the opportunity to get land and hold on to land.
Mhm.
And so there are black families in the South, um, and may not be what we would understand to be, wealthy, but there are black families in the South who have acreage of land.
Mhm.
And that's
Right.
Mhm.
just not a possibility in the North and hasn't been for a very long time, for anybody, let
Mhm.
alone for black people.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so I think about, especially when I heard that particular story from a particular friend, I think about what it may have meant if black people thought that they could actually make a life for themselves in the South.
Mhm.
Um, and what that might have looked like for my own family. And it's hard to
Mhm.
tell.
Right.
Um, it's hard to tell because at the moment at which you start considering leaving the only place that your family has ever known for generations, including the generations that were enslaved, you're just like, well, and understandably so, anything has to be better than this. But then I don't know. Chicago in the 30s, I'm not
Mm.
sure.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not
That's
sure.
that's
I'm
real.
I'm not
That's
sure
real.
because I mean I know what the women in my family did when they first moved, and they didn't have even blue collar jobs. They were domestics in the homes of
Right.
white
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
better,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You sound like you're talking about my family. I've got Georgians in my family. I got domestics in my family. My great grandma, my grandmother, who managed to buy property when they got to Toledo, right?
Hmm.
And still trying to figure out that story. But what story do you want to share with us today, beloved?
Um, so as a child, I was completely and totally obsessed, but also like really kind of like mesmerized with um the veracity
Mm-hmm.
and the certainty with which my grandmother spoke, especially
Okay.
of about her childhood, which was
Mm-hmm.
traumatic. Like my grandmother experienced some very traumatic things, especially surrounding um the family coming to Chicago. When the family came to Chicago, my grandmother did not come with them
Okay.
initially. She came later.
Mhm.
And we don't know why, but we do know that that was intentional.
Mm.
And she was a young child. Like, she was not, maybe she was 9 or 10.
Okay.
I would say somewhere between 8 and 10, and she
When the
was
family
left.
moved.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mhm.
everybody but her and a particular aunt who was married and pregnant at the time, who was
Okay.
quite frankly sick, very sick,
Mhm.
and pregnant with triplets,
Whew.
Oh,
and
Okay.
married to a man who was minimally uninvolved, if not other things, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And they lived back up in the country. We're not talking about people who lived in the city of Atlanta. We're talking about people who lived back up in the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
so my grandmother's is a young child, school-age child, who was left by her mother and two of her aunts,
Mhm.
and her two sisters,
Mhm.
and perhaps other people, also family members who went to Chicago, and she was
Okay.
left there. Um,
What was your grandmother's name?
Ella Christine. Well, her married name is Ella Christine Clay. She would have
Mhm.
been Ella Christine Smith.
Okay.
How long was your grandmother in the South, still in Georgia, before she did go to Chicago? Was she an adult by the time she got to
So
Chicago?
my mother always mentioned how even though my grandmother was 2 years older than her younger sister, they
Mhm.
graduated in the same year. And so it's highly possible that my grandmother was actually older than what I am estimating when
Okay.
Okay.
she was left down there. Because what we do know is that she started high school almost 2 years late.
Got it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she may have been 12 or 13 when her family first went without her.
Moved. Okay.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay. And then at that point, she just didn't go to school. She just stayed with her
Well, so
aunt.
that's what we don't know. It's
Oh, that's
Uh-huh.
possible
the
that she
don't know.
was going to
Okay.
school, because by the time she got into Chicago, she was able to go to high school. So I suspect that she was going to school in the
Got
Okay.
it.
South,
Okay.
but also was living with this aunt, in the care of this aunt who had a very difficult pregnancy and was sick because of the pregnancy and all of those things.
Got
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so the trauma is around her being left, and
Mhm.
then the
Mhm.
Mm.
circumstances under which she as a young person was left.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fast forward to mid 90s, or maybe even early 90s, and family had come over to visit. These are my grandmother's nieces and nephews.
Mhm.
And, of course, they start talking about, this deceased family, this deceased aunt, the aunts essentially who came from the South to Chicago, right?
Okay.
And so they're talking, and my grandmother obviously had to have heard something that made her want to intervene in the conversation. It was clear to me, even as a child, that to her mind, what they were saying was factually inaccurate.
Hmm.
Mm.
And not only did she have to correct it, she had to make it clear that the only one with the capacity to tell this story is her,
Oh.
because she was there.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Do you know what it was that they said?
Knowing my grandmother, it was either an incorrect chronology
Okay.
or an incorrect or incomplete telling of the time that she was there until they came and got her and brought
Okay.
her north,
Mhm.
Got it. What has
because she
she
was the
shared
only
with
one
you
that this
about that?
happened to. Nobody else in the
Wow.
family got left.
Right.
Wow.
What has she shared with you about that
My grandmother
experience?
never shared anything directly with me about that. It was my mother who I was there for
Mhm.
that
Okay.
particular event where she
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
corrected her family, but it was my mother who has shared that story with me about my grandmother
Mhm.
being left in Georgia.
Okay.
What, so growing up, what kind of person did you experience your grandmother as? What kind of character was she to you? What kind of person?
I was born literally the last day of the last month of 1979. By the time I was born, my grandmother had lost her mother, had lost her eldest child,
Mm-hmm.
um, and was just really in a certainly a new space that she had not been in, but also just very much like the past is the past. It is what it is. Like, yes, I have my feelings, but I've got a new grandbaby. I've got stability for one of the first times in my life. This is my life
Mm-hmm.
now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also both my mother and my grandmother are Capricorns. And it matters to the story in terms of patterns of behavior and um
Yep.
how we interact with each other and our thought
Mm-hmm.
processes about things. So
Mm-hmm.
my formative years were around no nonsense women
Mm-hmm.
who prioritized safety, who had all sorts of boundaries. And so my experience with my grandmother was one of, you can do whatever it is you want to do in
Mm-hmm.
your little child world within these boundaries. And
Right.
because I was a child, I had no reason to believe that she was being restrictive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because why would this woman who allows me to come downstairs and sleep in her bed and watch adult TV with her? Because I didn't watch child TV. I watched adult TV because my grandmother didn't do child TV.
Oh.
So my childhood was spent watching all sorts of things that probably a child shouldn't have watched. I surely wasn't watching those things upstairs with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
I was
So
watching
you missed out
PBS
on
upstairs with my
DuckTales.
mother.
Oh, okay.
Downstairs, I was watching Kojak and Columbo and Archie
Yo, yeah,
Bunker and
yeah.
what was the gorillas thing with Charlton Heston and
Oh,
the
Planet
greatest
of the
story
Apes.
ever told. I was watching all sorts of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So as a young child, I would say from baby to 8, 9, 10, you know, I thought my grandmother was everything. And I still
Mm.
Hmm.
do. I think obviously as you get into your preteen and your teen years and you start having a better understanding of your position vis-a-vis
Right.
adults, particularly the adults in your household, I became clear, and I joke about this today, but I'm actually quite serious. I was clear from an early age that I didn't live in a democratic household.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
also clear that that was for my safety. Because also, let's keep in
Mm.
mind, this is Chicago in the 80s and the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago has always been a city with a high degree of unsafety for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we always know that if Black people are experiencing a high degree of unsafety, Black women are experiencing it even more.
There it is.
So I
Mm-hmm.
had no reason to believe that the boundaries within which I operated weren't normal and
Mm-hmm.
weren't
Mm-hmm.
in place because my parents loved me. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
normal for me. I grew up with boundaries. Boundaries for me is how people who love me show me that they love me.
Mm-hmm.
But when as I've gotten older and I talk to other people about their childhoods, I've learned otherwise.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, you don't know when
Um,
you're young. You don't know. You don't know the
You know,
differences when you're young.
you don't, and
Yeah.
it's probably a good thing that you don't know.
I was thinking, yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
probably a good thing that you don't know. So again, me, my mother, my grandmother, 3 Capricorns under the same house, under the same roof, right? But also,
Mm-hmm.
interestingly enough, my grandmother had twin aunts who were
Mm-hmm.
born January 1st, 1900.
Mm.
Hmm.
And they were fraternal twins.
Okay.
Again, Capricorns. One came north. The other one is the one that my grandmother was left with.
Ah, okay. The one who
So,
had the triplets, right?
who had the triplets?
Whew.
Did she ever move to Chicago? That
The one
aunt
who
with the
had all the
triplets?
triplets? No, she died shortly after those triplets were born
Oh, wow.
because she had a
Mm-hmm.
sickly pregnancy. She also
Mm-hmm.
already, I
Right.
had, I believe, 2 or 3 children when she was pregnant with the triplets. And
Okay.
so, how my grandmother ended up coming north at the time that she did is that a neighbor wrote up to Chicago, letting specifically my Aunt Sugar, who was really kind of like the matriarch who organized, as I understand it, the logistics of people moving up north, to say,
Mm-hmm.
listen,
Mhm.
your sister is very ill. You need to come see about her and get these children.
Gotcha.
And those children included
The
the aunt's children and my grandmother.
okay, the triplets and the two before.
So
Yes,
all the
Wow.
kids eventually came up to
Wow.
Chicago,
they
including your
did. And they were
grandmother.
raised by the surviving twin, Moselle,
Got you. Wow.
Do
who
you
my
think that your
grandmother had a
grandmother
very, very good relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think your
Hmm.
grandmother was left behind to take care of that aunt?
I think that's possible. I think
Mm.
there are, from what I understand of families of family lore, I
Mm-hmm.
personally think it's a bit more than that. I think that's wholly possible. I think that's a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Based on things that my mother has shared with me, um, which include the facts as they were told to her by my grandmother, as well as her own conclusions based on her
Mhm.
lived experience with my grandmother.
Mhm.
Um, I think what I know to be the case is that my great grandmother played favorites, and my
Mm.
grandmother was not her favorite child.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was treated very poorly as a young adult, even when she got up to Chicago and was coming up in that household.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't believe that that treatment started when she got to Chicago, because
Gotcha.
otherwise, why would you leave your job?
C Let me clarify with you, Negarra. You said once your grandmother did come up to Chicago, she didn't move with your grandmother or
No,
her
she did.
mother. You Oh,
No,
she
she
did.
she did.
Okay.
So there was a that I haven't even mentioned that yet. So thank you for asking that question. There was a
Okay.
family home in
Okay.
the
Oh,
Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago.
I see.
Mm.
Everybody
Okay.
who came south spent some time in that home. The
Gotcha.
Got it.
anchors
Mm-hmm.
of that home were my grandmother's mother, the surviving twin,
Mm-hmm.
and then the youngest of my great grandmother's sisters, a woman named Amanda Davis, who we called Aunt Sugar, who
Mm-hmm.
who, as I understand it, responsible for like the logistics of getting everybody
Okay.
to Chicago and
Mm.
establishing that household. So when my grandmother and her first cousins came
Mm-hmm.
north finally, they all moved into that family home.
So I'm
Mhm.
thinking this is
Okay.
the 40s, the 1940s,
No, this is earlier
earlier
than
or
that. My
later?
grandmother was
Okay.
born in
Yeah.
1921. We're talking about the
Oh, okay.
30s.
Got you. Okay.
We're talking about the mid to late 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
Okay, so now I can see why and then your grandmother got close to that aunt, the twin aunt, because they were in
Mm-hmm.
the same household, so that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And she's probably treated better than her mom, according.
Absolutely
Yeah.
was. She was
Yeah.
Wow.
treated better by her aunts than she was by her mother.
Mm.
Hmm. Okay. So I can see why now too there's a more deeper trauma there. Because it's
Mhm.
not just
Mm-hmm.
about being left, but there's
It's
also
also the
about the
treatment.
relationship that
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, well, I know a little bit more about Ella Christine. Did she listen to music? Did she
Love
cook?
music. My
Oh, what did
grandmother
she love?
loved music. My mother has told me stories of when she was very, very young, when her parents were first married. So my grandmother and my grandfather were first married, that she would often see them dancing in the living room playing the record player. Like my
Oh,
grandmother
that's
loved music.
nice.
Some of my
That's
favorite
nice.
Mm.
pictures of my grandmother are her and her husband at jazz clubs, all dolled up, just gorgeous,
Oh,
stunning,
nice.
stunning, stunning,
Okay.
stunning pictures. Like my grandmother was drop dead gorgeous. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
hope she knew that, but my grandmother was
Mm.
drop dead gorgeous.
Do you have
Mm.
pictures?
I do have pictures of her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like thinking about her and thinking about her as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
and how she lived in Chicago. Now
Mm-hmm.
she's there, she's with your family, and
Mm-hmm.
she's this full-fledged person, right?
Yeah,
It starts with that
and she
story.
and
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I really and truly wholeheartedly believe that. I mean, for obvious reasons. Um, Black people, especially during the Great Migration, had a degree of difficulty that we're
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
processing through, whether we realize that or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I see these pictures of my grandmother dressed up, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
period, girl. Because you gotta enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and
Right.
that's the
Right.
thing. Like, life can be difficult from 9 to 5 every day, right? But
Mm-hmm.
after 5, you got to decide that this evening I'm gonna have a good time.
That's it.
Right.
You know, and that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what the proof is in the picture.
Right.
Okay.
The proof is in the picture.
I love
So,
those pictures. I can imagine what
Mhm.
they look like because they took a
mhm,
lot of photographs of people at different society clubs or
mhm,
just regular clubs
mhm,
and bars, and
mhm.
those are transformative for to
Absolutely.
the ancestors. I mean, we look at those and we go, "What was that like?" Like you said, it's
Absolutely.
like the struggle was real, is real,
And the struggle is what
and
it is. But I also, and I think I
yeah,
said this to you some years ago, that is a part of human life, independent
uh,
of race. Life
yes,
is not going to be perfect all the time.
mm-hmm,
Happiness is fleeting, as we know. Peace is
mm-hmm,
also fleeting unless you make a point to establish peace in your life.
mm-hmm.
However, you can decide in certain moments that today I'm not giving that the majority control in my life. I'm gonna go
Right.
out. I'm gonna see my friends. Me and my husband gonna have a good time. I'm gonna get cute, and at least we can say we had a good time.
Right. And
You
you need
know
that to regulate your life, I think. You need
exactly
other ways to be in the world that aren't always in opposition or
right,
responding to. Yeah. Uh-huh.
exactly.
The
And I think,
nonsense. Mm-hmm.
particularly in a place like Chicago, this was a time where you could go to a jazz club and be surrounded by Black people,
Right.
Whew. Mm.
majority Black people.
Majority of Black people. Yes. Yes.
You
Do
know,
you feel like a lot of the sensibilities that you have today are because of your grandmother?
absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I quote my
nice.
grandmother all the time.
Oh,
I
I
quote
love
like
that.
literally
Love it.
I quote that woman all the time. So
Yeah.
in my life as a healer and as a priestess, I have godchildren, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I quote her all the time. All the time. They know who my
Good.
grandmother is. That
Mm.
is outside of my mother, obviously, that is the single most important person in my life.
Mm.
Right.
Like my
I love
favorite person, not easy, obviously, but who is though?
Who is?
Right.
If
Exactly.
you're being honest about your shit, and we all have it, who
All of
is?
us.
But by far, like my favorite person, like for whatever people's beliefs are about reincarnation, like if I could choose,
Hmm.
I would come back and be with her. Absolutely.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. So in our
Mm.
house, in the house that I grew up in Chicago, we had backyard area. And
Hmm.
she had a small area where she would grow vegetables like onions, green peppers,
Hmm.
garlic, those kinds of things,
Hmm.
tomatoes. But then she had another section slightly longer where she grew rose bushes and sunflowers.
Oh, nice. Nice. Ooh, big sunflowers. Yes.
My mother has this picture of my grandmother sort of tending
Mhm.
to the flowers, and there's this one sunflower that was taller than her. It's very cute.
Oh, wow. That sounds like an awesome
Hmm.
photograph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your grandmother go back down south ever? Go
No,
back to
honey. When
Mississippi?
she left that Georgia, she said, "No,
Okay.
thank you.
Oh, Georgia. Right. Okay.
I live in Chicago." And
Okay.
nobody who came up north went back. Even
Oh, really?
her, even
Hmm.
her mother's generation.
Oh,
Once they got to Chicago, they did not go back.
but there was family left in those places,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
So there are
okay.
two main branches of my maternal lineage, is the Smith and the Yanceys, and they both
Hmm.
had very large families in Georgia. And so
Hmm.
there were quite a few Smiths and quite a few Yanceys who never came north. My mother at a certain point, I don't remember when, went down with a cousin of hers who had come,
Hmm.
whose parents I think had come to Chicago and met some of these Smiths and met some of the Yanceys. But
Hmm.
They
Okay.
stayed in the South, and then that particular branch of the family stayed north.
Okay.
Hmm.
Did you get a sense of what your grandmother's relationship was with her sisters?
Her elder sister, she did not have any antagonism stemming from childhood with her elder sister. Some of that is due to the part that her elder sister, even though they're only 2 years apart, by the time my grandmother made it to Chicago, it's wholly possible that she and her elder sister were only in the household together 1 or 2 years, because her elder sister got married very young. She got married at 15.
Okay.
Um, but her younger sister, obviously, they spent time in the household, and that relationship was extremely antagonistic because my grandmother's younger sister was the preferred child of their mother.
Talked about that playing favorites business. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so my grandmother was caught in this triangulation between her mother and her younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
And based on the things my mother has told me that her mother shared with her, they were just nasty.
Hmm.
And so
Mm.
my mother told me a very interesting story, I would say only probably within the last 10 years. Um the relationship you observed your grandmother have with her younger sister is far different than the lived experience that my grandmother had when they were younger. She said there was a certain point where my grandmother's younger sister said what I would presume to be some nasty, very flippant, mean spirited things to my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother had had enough. And my grandmother returned the favor. That apparently got her younger sister together and made her realize that if she wants a life with her sister in it, then she needs to get this behavior together.
Hmm.
That
And
phrase on
apparently,
Negarra, that phrase, get somebody together, gather somebody. I feel like that's very Southern Midwestern. I hear that. Oh, she
yes,
got her together, and now
yes,
she ain't doing that no more. You know?
exactly. And that led to them being able to at least be, amicable
Yeah.
Mm.
in their elder years,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
you know.
Hmm. I guess it was somewhat reparative then.
Mm,
No.
I don't know. Repair suggests having generative conversation. I'm not going to say that anything my grandmother said to her sister was generative. I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
going to say that what I suspect is that what my grandmother said to her sister was absolutely violent,
Mm-hmm.
and that she felt justified in doing so because of the
Oh,
decades of
okay.
violence that her
Mm-hmm.
sister projected onto her.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the sad reality that I have learned as an adult is some people only understand violence. And this is not me being an advocate for it,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm. I get you.
knowing that and being in a
Mm-hmm.
situation where you're sick of being abused and put upon, you're then going to do what you feel you need to do to stop the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because that behavior that my grandmother experienced by her mother and by her sister was
Mm-hmm.
abusive. There's no way around
Mm-hmm.
that. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It was
Mm.
abusive.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wholeheartedly believe that whatever my grandmother said returned the favor, compounded with decades of interest.
Whew.
Mm.
Well, there.
And from my vantage point, she was completely and totally justified.
Mm.
And
And you
the
think
dis And what I will say before you ask your question, I think when presented with the reality that she will lose a sister,
Mm.
was enough for her to change gears completely.
Okay. So what you're saying is it stopped the abuse, but it didn't really repair in any
I
sort
don't
of
believe it
deep
repaired
way.
anything. I think I
Okay.
think my grandmother's sister simply said, I need to stop this behavior
Mm-hmm.
because I want to have proximity.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing, I don't believe anything got repaired. I think
Mm.
my grandmother simply decided that as long as if she wants to be over here, that's fine. I can tolerate her, but what I'm not going to tolerate is the bullshit.
She
Yeah.
drew a
It
line.
became a tolerable situation. Now,
Right.
Yeah.
again, I also don't know. I don't know if they had any
Mm-hmm.
reparative conversations. I've not ever
Okay.
heard my mother relay that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was a child, that's also something that I wouldn't
Right.
necessarily know.
Did your grandmother ever have any conversations like that with her mother?
No, yeah, she did not. Um, and I don't know why. What I do know is that when my grandmother's mother passed, it was extremely, extremely difficult for my grandmother for all the obvious reasons. Because it's just like
Mm-hmm.
this person that's supposed to love you, that you want to love you, that you love despite what they have done to you, is now dead.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no chance
Hmm.
Whew.
anymore for repair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when somebody dies, it's it's over in certain ways, you know.
Yeah.
And
Right.
certainly, again, if you take a spiritual perspective, sure, but in the moment, you're not in that place. When somebody dies, you are in pain, real, actual emotional, mental, and physical pain. And the physical pain, I think we underestimate because it's the emotion that hits, but the physical pain happens because literally your flesh and bone is in the ground and
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
not coming
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not coming
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yo.
This is a realization I came to when my own grandmother died. I was distraught. My God. And still, once or twice a month, I'll just be in here like, girl, you really left me here. Like, what is this? You know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the weight of death. And I can only
Mm-hmm.
imagine how heavier still that is when the relationship has been a terrible one,
Right.
Whew. Yeah.
you know?
That's
Yeah.
it.
So
Mm-hmm.
no, she did, to my knowledge, she did not have that conversation with her mother. Um, according to my mother, that instance where my grandmother's sister said that whatever she said was the catalyst for my grandmother to be like, what you're gonna do is stop. If you want to be over here, what you're gonna do is stop.
Hmm.
However she phrased that.
Right.
Um, and then a decision was made,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
Well, we've come to the end of our conversation, Negarra, and it's been enlightening, and then it's also filling in some blanks from past conversations that you and I have had
Uh-huh.
about your grandmother, right? Um, and I'm glad you shared these stories with us today because
Uh-huh.
your storytelling is pretty full of dimension, and care, and just thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me. I appreciate it.
we really appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I loved getting to know your grandmother.